Welcome back to the Football Podcast. This will be episode 2. We will be recording. It's going to be the same kind of layout from episode 1. For those of you who have watched episode 1, if not, at the very end, I will drop the link for the first episode. Go check it out. It's a pretty straightforward episode. Just talked about some ranking the NFL teams by tier list. Went on for our FanDuel future predictions. Then we went to organizing based off the FanDuel projections of over under wins. We went through all the teams projected they're going to go over in wins, under in wins, all that. But for this episode, we have a pretty lengthy probably episode. We got a lot to talk about. A lot went on in the past week since we last talked in the NFL. But this time I will be releasing the full video as you will be watching right here. But for those of you who do not want to be watching the whole video for however long this is, I will be starting a new playlist on the channel where we're going to have the clips section. I will organize each segment into its own clip, post it into the channel, and I'll organize it however I see fit or however you guys will like it better. And you guys can go through the clips playlist, click on, say, as you can see, a first segment today will be Chris Jones and Nick Bosa. If you really just want to watch what we have to say about the Chris Jones and Nick Bosa, what's going on with those two players, you can just go to that video, click on it, watch what we have to say about that. Same with all the different segments for today's video. So sit back, enjoy, and thanks for watching. All right, so we'll just start with one of the first news is Chris Jones is possibly holding out till week 8, and then Nick Bosa also not having his deal yet. They have optimism for week 1, but I just had what do you think this will have an effect on the Chiefs season?
I've heard a lot of people think the Chiefs are actually interested in trading Chris Jones if they can't come to a contract extension. That they're potentially looking to deal if they have to, that they're not going to go too much heavier on their offer. I think it's kind of a mistake.
Have they talked about how much he's wanting?
I haven't seen anything, but I assume it's probably going to be more than what Aaron Donald is making. And I assume he probably wants edge rusher money, and considering he's a interior D lineman who gets 15 sacks, that's probably why. Donald's contract is over 20 mil a year. It's almost he got 90 mil guaranteed, 95 guaranteed. And it's pretty insane. And I don't think you can give that to Chris Jones. As good as he is and as much as he makes that defense work, you can't give an interior D lineman 30 mil a year when you're going to be paying Pat Mahomes 50, and you still got Kelsey, and you have to pay offensive linemen, and there are other positions that they have to pay for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's because he's a defensive tackle, interior lineman, but when I saw how many sacks he had last season, I was like, what? Are you sure this was a defensive tackle? I mean, that dude.
He's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird just to see a defensive tackle with what he had, like 17 sacks last year?
I think it was like 15 and a half.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't expect that. I mean, I don't even think Aaron Donald puts those numbers up.
Donald has. He's led the league in sacks a couple times, but Donald is also one of one.
Right.
It's hard to compare anybody to him, and I think that's what Chris Jones wants. And I just can't see him getting anything near Donald's contract.
How old's Chris Jones? You know?
Less than 30, younger than 30.
Younger than 30?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how old, but he's younger than 30.
All right. What about Nick Bosa? I mean, they're pretty optimistic that they'll have one done in time for the week 1 of the season, but
I was going to say, sorry, go ahead.
Let's say he doesn't get it. How long until they cave if he's wanting way too much and they're kind of hesitant, or B, what kind of that will have a huge impact on that team because they're primarily known for their defense and not primarily known for their offense.
I can't imagine Bosa sits out long, even if he doesn't have a contract. He's the kind of person who wants to play, and I think on his kind of contract, he comes out, puts up another defensive player of the year type performance, They have to pay him like he's the best edge in the game.
Right.
He's probably, I can't imagine he's much older than 25, 26 years old. It's going to be his 5th year going in, I think. I think he got drafted in 2019.
It was very
The
recent.
same year as Kyler, so he's 24, 25, 26. He's going to get paid top dollar edge rusher money, whether that's from the Niners or another team, but I can't imagine he sits out more than a couple games.
I don't see the 49ers letting him even think about sitting out. I think they're going to get that deal done as soon as possible.
Neither do I. I assume he probably wants a very heavy amount of guaranteed money. And the Niners are probably like, you have a little bit of an injury history, so we're going to take that a little slower.
Right. I was going to say, I mean, the only reason why they would be hesitant is because the past couple seasons he's been known to have at least a hiccup in the season at least once. But I mean, those are two guys, Chris Jones, Nick Bosa, that you kind of like, you feel obligated to pay. More Nick Bosa than Chris Jones, but two players that, I mean, they'll end up getting what they want from somewhere. Preferably,
I agree.
I believe it'll be both their teams they play for right now.
I agree. I agree completely.
Moving forward, we're going to do leaping forward. It's just a quick question about which team do you think will have the biggest leap this season? If you could see my screen, my little thumbnail on the top of is who I think, and it's the Detroit Lions. I'm, for some reason, so in on the Detroit Lions. I don't know if it's Dan Campbell just has me mesmerized or what, but I think Goff's a very reliable, consistent quarterback for what they need, and they're surrounding him with the right pieces. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra. They like this Sam Laporta guy, and their defense it's getting better each year. So I don't know who you have as your biggest leap. What team do you think has got the biggest leap?
It's hard to say. I don't think anybody's going to make a leap like the Giants made last year, where they go from 4 wins to the playoffs. I think in terms of biggest leap from potential, I think the Seahawks are going to go from just a okay wild card team to potentially contending for the NFC. They're my team who I think has the best shot at improving. But biggest leap potential, I see the Bears going from worst record in the league to probably 7 or 8 wins, which is I mean, that's a 6-win jump right there, 5-win jump for them,
It's a
which is
lot for 1
impressive.
year.
It's
Yeah.
a big leap, but I mean, it's hard to say because they're still not making the playoffs, in my opinion, or anything like that.
It's kind of a tricky question when you ask that because, like you kind of touched on, you're like, how do you define biggest leap in a way?
Exactly.
Is it not playoffs to playoffs? Is it a team that should have made the playoffs but didn't last year? Like you could say the Saints could have a big leap this year.
Because they go from 8 wins last year to 10 wins this year and win their division and potentially make a second round just based on who their wild card team is because the NFC is so weak. But
So it's just based off what kind of preference you have and what you determine is a big leap for a team. Let's just say like this year Cardinals finish with 1 win and next year they have 6. That could be the biggest leap.
exactly.
But yeah, it was just a quick question to see. I don't know what it is about Detroit. I think it's Dan Campbell more than anything. He just pumps me up.
I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. I mean, he's a former Saint and he's a former Saint coach, so I'm always riding with him. Always be rooting him on.
Next segment is a little touching on the 49ers this past week. I mean, you saw they named Aaron. They named Sam Darnold the 49ers backup over the 2021 third overall pick Trey Lance. My question to you is, does this go down as the 49ers trading for Trey Lance? Does that go down as the worst trading of picks ever? San Francisco traded 3 first-round picks and a third rounder for Trey Lance, who was 2 years and he's out.
I think it's hard to say. It's probably going to be looked at in the near future as the worst ever. I can't remember some of the specific ones. I remember the Saints gave up an entire draft for Ricky Williams and then traded him 2 years later. They traded their 1st through 7th round pick for one player. Don't think they won any playoff games with those. Thank you, Mike Ditka. What a legendary trade that was. Going back, there's probably some But in the recent memory, it's by far the worst trade I could think of. I mean, they got Tyreek Hill,
Potentially after
Bradley
this, yeah,
Chubb,
yeah,
and Jalen Waddle for Trey Lance.
yeah. And then the 49ers receive a fourth back from what we'll touch on here in a little bit. The Cowboys, they only gave up a fourth for him.
It's insane.
So, I mean, it definitely is up there for the top. I mean, you have possibly the Denver trade for Seattle. That could be up there.
It depends on how Devin Witherspoon is. If he's an all-pro, got the potential, but I mean, still, like I think. I mean, they got Drew Lock back in the process. Like, I don't think he's too major, but I don't know. That's 3 all-pro level talents for a player who may never start more than 10 games in his career.
You're talking about the Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It blew my mind. I forgot how many picks they gave up to trade up to the 3rd overall pick to select him.
It's bad.
Who'd they pass up on? There had to been
Pitts, Chase, Penei Sewell,
was Fields in this draft?
Micah Parsons, Fields, Mac Jones. Yeah, there was a.
I think Fields in the 49ers, that would have been epic.
Oh, they would have been awesome.
But
would have been absolutely awesome.
The big thing with the 49ers that I want to talk about was just that trade. I mean, I didn't expect. I thought they would keep all 3 quarterbacks just with their quarterback history, but I mean, you might as well get something out of him, even though he still had 2 years left on his contract. But
I would have kept him.
That's why I would have kept him. I know that.
I mean, he's not that expensive as a player. Like, why not keep him? See if the Brock Purdy thing goes sideways, and then you can get him.
Right.
Like, what else are you gonna do there?
It was just sudden. I felt like, in my opinion,
it was too quick.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll say Brock Purdy gets hurt, and we all know Darnold's passed. I mean, he might.
Dude's got ghosts.
Yeah, he does. He's probably still seeing them.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I want to talk about with the 49ers. The next one we were going to talk about is Tua. It's a broad title, but I only named it Tua because I didn't know how to spell his last name. But the main topic behind Tua was the status of his body. I don't know if you saw, but what Ryan Clark said.
I did not. What Ryan Clark say?
Ryan Clark, and I quote, "Let me tell you what he wasn't.
Not been in the gym.
What he wasn't doing. He wasn't in the gym. I'll bet you that. He might have spent a lot of time in the tattoo parlor. He was not at the dinner table eating what the nutritionist had advised. He looks happy. He is thick. He's built like the girls working at Onyx in Atlanta right now on the bottom." So my question after that is, well, first of all, what a quote.
And what a quote.
My question is do you think Tua looks out of shape to you, or was this part of his efforts to stay healthy and be able to absorb more contact?
I think it's important for quarterbacks to have a little bit of pudge to them. Like I mean, I wouldn't say Andrew Luck was this rock solid, built like abs, stuff like that.
You gotta have some meat on you.
Yeah, I mean, look at Big Ben. Like, I mean, his trademark was literally being big.
Right. I mean, Peyton Manning, he had a little pudge to him. I mean,
you need to take a couple little hits. It's important. If you're razor thin back there, I mean, those people are gonna crush you. That's what I'm worried about from Bryce Young.
Right. That's what everyone's worried about with Bryce Young is his size. I mean, I just think that's the first thing I noticed when they showed Tua back on the field. I was like, holy cow, that dude is massive.
I think it's important. As long as he keeps his timing, I think it's going to be more than fine.
Right. As long as you don't see, like, arm strength go away or his athletic ability to be able to evade the pocket and make some moves. As long as those things don't diminish with him getting a little thicker, I don't think you can complain. I don't know about you, but I don't think this will have a negative effect on his performance. As long as he stays healthy, you'll see the same Tua you did last year.
I agree 100%.
Good. You got anything else?
The only thing is I just think Mike McDaniel is that good of a head coach, and I think he's going to put Tua in a space to succeed. Have you seen those clips that Tua is wearing like the side camera helmet?
I've seen the pictures. I've never seen like footage or videos of it. No.
It's, I mean, allowing your coach to basically see what you're seeing, and this guy already dices up one of the best offenses. He's literally going to say, "Nope, I want you to go here, here, here."
I mean,
I'm not worried about them one bit.
that's probably one of the smartest things use of technology I've heard from the NFL in a couple of years.
I agree.
I mean, that's pretty smart. Then, I mean, even Tua, not just McDaniels, Tua can go back and look and see what he should have been seeing rather than what he
Yep,
did see. I mean, that's smart.
I agree.
The next topic was, of course, I'm going to have to talk about Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, big topic of him early in the week was him ending his preseason with the worst completion percentage out of the quarterbacks who I think threw 20 attempts or more. He ended with 44% completion. So my topic of question was, does this concern you if you're a Colts fan?
No, this dude's going to experience growing pains. It's just bound to happen, and I think that's okay. Like I think he needs to experience these growing pains. It's important for him to be playing. I'm not I'm not worried about it one bit, honestly.
I still believe he should have been playing in that second preseason game. I don't think. I know you just had a joint scrimmage. You just had a joint scrimmage with the Eagles too. But why are you? He played 13 games in college. NFL is a totally different speed of game. Why is he not out there at least for a series or two? I mean, he needs the reps. It just didn't make sense to me. Hey, I went to the game, so I was disappointed not being able to see him. But that's besides the point. But I do think the 44% should not be looked at as a negative thing as much as it was during the week. I mean, you knew drafting the guy he was going to be a project.
Yep.
So there are things that I need. He needs to work on if he wants to be this elite quarterback, franchise quarterback, and he's got to work on his touch.
I agree, but I think that comes with age, so
Age,
comes with experience.
right? Time with your wide receivers. So get some wide receivers. I don't know. Maybe get some good ones in there that you can have him develop with for a couple years. If he shows progression, you're gonna have to have those receivers in there to build the timing. And so, like Pittman running, he's running this 10-yard dig route. He knows where to throw it to. Pittman's not going. But when you keep throwing Doolin out there and all these other guys who are not the most experienced individuals at the position, it's not going to help him. And it doesn't help not having Jonathan Taylor for the first 4 weeks at least either.
Honestly, I'm very out on Jonathan Taylor. I kind of hope
we'll
he
get
gets.
to it.
I was gonna say, if that's not a topic, I have some thoughts on Jonathan Taylor.
But my other question was, did the Colts make the right decision to name him as the starter so early in the season? What was it, like after the first preseason game he was named the starter? So
I'd say yes. I think they know what they have with Gardner Minshew, and that Shane Steichen coached him already. I think he is specifically there to mentor. So I don't think it's a problem at all with naming Richardson starter week 1.
my thing was always, people are always like, he's gonna need a couple weeks to learn and sit back, and now especially with no Taylor, and you can tell that we're slowly on this rebuild process. That you gotta get guys out there. You gotta see what we have and what you need going forward. So say he's the guy, you need to know. I need a wide receiver too. We're gonna need a running back line. It allows you to evaluate everything if you just throw it all out there. To be honest, because
I agree.
You're gonna need to know what Alec Pierce can do because he has to show up. But that's about it for Anthony Richardson. I just thought they were pretty hammered and pretty hard this week on the 44% completion through 2 games.
I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think they're going to be fine.
Right. And you know what? His arm isn't there. Guess what? His legs are there, so we'll be fine.
Yup.
Moving on to the next one. Josh Jacobs. It's just mainly just, I know everyone saw this, but like he signed the 1 year $12 million up to $12 million. It's basically 1 year 11.8 with $200,000 in per game incentives. I just wanted to ask your thoughts on the deal. Was it the right deal? Too much? Too little?
For who again? Sorry.
Josh Jacobs.
I mean, he wasn't going to get much better than this. I think this is kind of the
I think this is his ceiling.
running back. I think this is the running back market. If I were him, I probably would have signed a long-term deal instead of just a
Absolutely.
1-year. Instead of a 1-year deal, I would have taken less money, average annual value, and signed a long-term deal. People who lead, unless your name's Derrick Henry, people who lead the league in touches usually do not come back in and do the exact same next year. Their body usually kind of breaks down. Look at Mike Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, JT. Anybody who's not Derrick Henry body usually starts to break down a little bit. So that's where I'm worried.
Right. I think this is, meaning per year basis, this is the running back market. I mean, McCaffrey, as good as he is, and as much as he can offer you, he's still, in my opinion, making a little too much money for the running back position. But I think 12 million is probably where the running back should be close to being capped out. There would be some other running backs, like for him especially, this is his cap. He's not getting more than this, in my opinion.
I agree.
But like you have guys like Nick Chubb who are better than Josh Jacobs. You'll see a little bit more. Saquon should probably right around that 12, $13 million range. This, like I said, this should be around the cap for the per year basis for running back.
I think that's probably reasonable. I don't think we're going to see very many of the Zeke, Alvin Kamara,
No, that's
Christian
over.
McCaffrey type running back contracts in the near future until the salary cap gets a little adjusted.
My next one was, or our next one is Dallas Cowboys. Well, we're just talking on it again. Trade for Trey Lance. Now it's going to go a little more in depth. It was just the Cowboys received Trey Lance. 49ers received that 4th round pick, like I said. What do you think this means going forward? Does this give Dak a short leash and cheap competition for Dak?
I don't think it does anything to Dak. I think he's pretty solidified in his role. The Cowboys, a lot of people have as the second best team in the NFC, if not the best with the Eagles. I think it's going to be heavily dependent on how well he does this year, but that also could be the coach's fault. He's switching up their offense. It's more of a timing-based offense now instead of a free-flowing offense, so it's going to be interesting to see how Dak, CD, the new kid Ferguson, Brandon Cooks adapts, Tony Pollard.
Deuce
I've heard
Vaughn.
people kind of. I was gonna say I've actually heard people like the backup running back. I can't remember what his name is because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Is this the guy that just was the last pick in my draft? It was Dowdle.
Yeah, Dowdle.
Yeah.
I've heard people are starting to kind of like buy into where like a lot of teams aren't going to be running their premier running backs into the ground so they can save them for the end of the season.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how he's affected, but I don't know. I think it's a win-win. I wish that Lance would have gone somewhere where he would have gotten more reps, but maybe he's going to get some in practice while Dak just sits off to the side. I don't know.
Do you think there's any scenario where, like, say the Cowboys lose early in the playoffs again, that this could be his going away party, or do you think
No.
Dak's there to stay unless they bring in some absurd talent?
No, I don't think so. I think this year Dak has at least one more year left on the leash just because of Mike McCarthy. I think it goes coach then quarterback instead of quarterback then coach.
Always.
So I think if McCarthy doesn't get it done this year and they underperform, he gets fired, and then Dak's on the hot seat after that.
If you can't see a trend here, the Cowboys were in the news a lot this year or this week, so because there's another one coming up, but the next one's talking about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was announced that will not be activated off the PUP list, and then the first 4 weeks of the season at least. There is also speculation that we might not see Murray all season. Is Kyler's career in the NFL as a starter numbered?
No. Too talented. He's got. I mean, he'll be a starter throughout the duration of his contract. I have a very strong feeling the Cardinals are going to trade him. But if I was Caleb Williams and or Drake May, if I were both of them, I would just stay in school another year, pull a Peyton. I would pull an Elway. I'd pull a Luck. Why would you want to go to that dysfunctional of a franchise?
Unless you see something you love from the new coach, I agree. I feel like honestly, more quarterbacks should probably look into doing that. I mean, rather than getting thrown into an absolute dumpster fire and ruining 2 to 3 years off your career just by going to the league. I mean, you can pass up the money now because NIL.
I'm not in on Jonathan Gannon as a head coach. I do not think he is going to be successful.
The only way he succeed is by his personality. He's like that Dan Campbell kind of. I saw a video. He acted like this Dan Campbell kind of guy. So that'd be the only way is if he can gather a locker room and build a culture there. But that's the only way. I mean, we'll see. But I don't think, based off the question I was just asking, I don't think, like you said, he's too talented to not be on a roster spot as a starter. I mean, I just think he was in a very bad situation with this Cardinals team.
It's just a complete dumpster fire there. It's not where you want to be whatsoever.
Cliff fooled us all. Well, I don't think he fooled you. He fooled me for sure.
No, I was never in on Cliff. I think Kyler is one of those people who is just gonna. He's just one of those dudes who thinks he's too cool for everybody else, and that's what worries me the most. I don't like having people like that on my team, but we'll have to see how it goes. I'm really hopeful that he gets his act together because he is a fun player to watch.
He's very fun to watch. He's electric.
Yeah, I just my thing with Jonathan Gannon is he had, without a doubt, the best offensive line or defensive line last year in the league. They also played by far the easiest schedule in the league. And then when time mattered, when they played good offenses, he could never step up and call a good game. His favorite thing in the world to do was leave people open across the middle. And don't think that's going to work very well. So,
no, it's not.
Maybe let's not do that.
But next question is, if the Cardinals do decide to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, where might the next destination possibly be for Kyler Murray? Like what system would fit him best? I mean, I was thinking of a couple teams that would probably need quarterbacks in the next year. You got like the Buccaneers, the Titans, the Rams, the Falcons, Broncos, Raiders, and the Patriots. I mean, that's a lot of teams, but those are just teams that I know have average quarterbacks at the moment or below average.
I 100% agree with you on the Broncos. I actually think that, as I was thinking while you were asking, and I think that'd be my favorite team. I think Sean Payton would be able to keep him in check,
right,
which is what matters. And if Sean Payton can keep him in check, I think they would be an awesome team. Buccaneers, I think it just kind of. I think a lot of those teams are going to depend on who the new coaches are.
Right. Like the only other one, if you're looking based off culture-based, especially in the head coach column, I mean, the Titans, Vrabel has a pretty good hand on that team right now.
Yeah, I've heard they really like Malik Willis right now. Like I have heard that. Some in camp, which is kind of worrisome if you're a Colts fan, because the last thing they need is another athletic quarterback to go up against. But
right,
I've heard that they are really liking Malik Willis.
And then like another one might be the Falcons. Arthur Smith back. Or did I say a quarterback?
Yeah.
Arthur Smith as the Falcons head coach.
I do like that a lot as well.
But those are just some teams. If I had to choose, if I was Kyler Murray, I would go to Denver.
If I had to choose, I would agree with you, but I really doubt he's got a no trade clause in his. If he has a no trade clause, I would be amazed. The last thing I would do is give somebody like him a no trade clause.
Right. Let's see, what was...
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I kind of hope that Caleb Williams and them come out just so we can see the drama of how the trade unfolds.
Right. What do you think evaluation is for Kyler Murray?
Well, the valuation. Sorry, I thought you said evaluation.
No, just the value of him as a player.
It's got to be at least a first round pick. What was the Russ trade? Do you remember exactly?
Let's see.
I think it was 2 first and a couple players. I would say at least a first and a player, or a first and a second round pick, something along those values.
Denver traded 3 players and 4 draft picks across the 2022 and 2023 drafts, and also swapped a 2022 draft pick in March. It was Denver's 2022 and 2023 first round picks, Denver's 2022 and 2023 second round picks, and Denver's 2022 fifth round pick.
Yeah, I would think it would be less than that. I think it would probably be I think it would probably be a first and a second, or
and maybe a player.
First and or a first and a conditional first, depending on how many games he starts in the next year, something along those lines.
Right. But yeah, that I heard you say, "Ooh," I'm like, yeah, that trade was debatable.
That was a rough trade. That was a very rough trade.
Yes, that was something people are gonna look, if he doesn't pull his head out of his butt. It's something people are gonna look back on and be like, "What?" I mean, they fleeced them.
Yeah, they fleeced them hard.
Let's see, what was next? Next, like I said, Cowboys are a hot topic this week. It was this one's about Jerry Jones.
All right, let's hear it.
Jerry Jones doesn't consult Dak Prescott or head coach Mike McCarthy before finalizing the Trey Lance trade. Adding Trey Lance does nothing for them to win now. All offseason, they were all proclaiming Dak was their guy, then go and add a distraction to their team. Cowboys organization fan base are going to see what kind of quarterback Dak Prescott is with his mental toughness. You saw him pass people like back in the Eagles camp. When Wentz signs his extension, the Eagles proceed to draft Jalen Hurts. Then you see Wentz fall off the wagon. We kind of talked on it, but I mean, what do you think about Jerry Jones not telling his head coach, especially his head coach? Dak's a different story, but you don't tell your head coach that you're making that kind of trade.
I think Jerry runs the team however Jerry wants to run the team, and
Jerry's
that's why
world.
he hired. I think that's exactly why he hired Mike McCarthy, because he knew Mike McCarthy would be a pushover.
Right.
The Jason Garrett effect. I mean, at that point, they're like, yeah, I run the team, and you just do everything I say. Dak, I think that's really the only thing to say with Mike McCarthy, but coming along to Dak, I don't think Dak should be worried. I think Dak coming in as a 4th-round pick, very undervalued, made $160 million. I think Dak is pretty solidified in himself. I don't think Dak should fear too much pressure. I mean, this kid's considered a generational bust. That'd be like bringing Sam Darnold in and saying, "Are you worried about Sam Darnold?" I think they should be fine.
You also saw it with the Packers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was not a fan of the Jordan Love draft pick.
Yeah, but Rodgers has a way different personality than Dak. I feel like Dak is very team friendly.
Yep.
I think Rodgers is very me friendly.
Correct.
I think Rodgers was out to get the Packers from day one. Blamed Mike McCarthy, blamed Mac LaFleur, blamed them drafting Jordan Love, blamed them, which I can't agree with not drafting first round offensive talent. They've missed on a lot of good players. I still will never understand why they didn't take T. Higgins in that draft. They had 2 first-round picks, passed on them twice. Beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I see Dak being fine. I see Dak being himself.
Dak seems like the kind of guy
good year.
that it's not going to affect him that much. It might in the back of his head and be there every once in a while, but I don't think. I mean, he seems like he's a pretty good leader. Whatever comes his way, he's going to be able to handle it head on.
I agree.
I do also want to play the other side. Just if you're the quarterback one, you just came off. Everyone's calling for your head, and then that happens. That's got to be something. Like, I mean, that's got to rub you the wrong way a little bit. I know it rubbed me the wrong way. But they also, I don't know if you saw this, came out today that that Jerry Jones said that 2 years ago, had Hurts fallen to them, that they were going to draft him.
I mean, that's just revisionist history. Do I believe that? No. I mean, that's like when Sean Payton, after Pat Mahomes won his Super Bowl, was like, yeah, we were going to take him with the 11th overall pick if he dropped to us. Were they? Potentially. But how are we supposed to prove that?
Right.
I don't think you really can.
Right.
Which is my main thing when it comes to that. But beyond that, I don't know. I don't think they would have drafted him. They had Dak. Dak was coming off probably most likely a good year at that point.
Yeah.
I don't see them drafting Jalen Hurts at that
I think
point.
that was his that was after the year. Then like that next off season, he was fighting for his extension, if I remember
Oh
correctly.
yeah, then I really don't see that happening.
Yeah. My other point is Jerry Jones in today's with the Commanders' old owner. What was his name? Snyder. With him gone,
Dan Snyder.
does Jerry Jones go down as the worst owner right now?
No.
With his ability to handle player relationships. How about that?
I think people love Jerry because he pays them. I think that's why Zeke loved being in Dallas, because he paid him.
That's fair. Money, but money talks, man. Money
Yeah.
buys it.
I know you're gonna hate when I say this, but I truly think right now, the Cardinals owner is probably the worst owner in the sport right now. I'm pretty sure he's had 2 people get in trouble for potential sexual assault. I know one. He fired the GM.
Don't say Jim Irsay is the worst.
Jim Irsay is probably the second worst.
Houston's owner?
You don't hear anything coming from him.
Not anymore. After he made his claim about how you don't let the inmates run the prison.
Which was an awful statement, and I'm not going to say I condoned that. But to say that Irsay is not the worst, I can't agree. Or the second worst, I just can't agree with you there. This dude speaks his mind. He
takes care of his guys, though.
I'm with him on the JT one, trust me. I'm not a big JT guy. I don't think paying running backs is smart, but I wouldn't say he necessarily pays his guys.
Darius.
He pays the wrong decision. He pays the wrong positions. I think he is becoming way too involved with the team.
I think do agree because with that.
Frank Reich messed up a quarterback 3 times in a row. I think he's like, okay, I'm stepping in.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's not what you want to see. You just don't want to see that from Jim Irsay, who's the most outspoken owner right now behind Jerry Jones.
That dude might be severely medicated still.
Yeah, it's not good.
I do like him though, because he's I mean, what owner isn't, but he's all about trying to win another championship. So
he definitely pushes to win. I'm gonna give him credit, but to say that I am a fan of Jim Irsay, I think he is a bad owner.
That's fine. I mean, a lot of people would agree, and there's some days when I see what he says, and I also agree. Like when we're getting ready to talk about, but when the JT stuff was fresh, it was just like he's on his golf cart and he said what he says. Like, that's probably not what you probably should be saying right now.
Yeah,
is he wrong? No, but should you say it? No.
Exactly. You don't have to say that stuff to the public.
Now for our last segment. It's just Tuesday. Everyone knows what Tuesday was. It was the cut day. All teams had to have their teams finalized for their 53-man rosters. So I marked down some of the notable ones. You can chime in if there was one I missed. But Dolphins released Myles Gaskin. Texans.
Not shocked at that.
Texans released Christian Kirksey.
God, I didn't even realize he was still in the league.
Me neither. And then I saw his stats from last year. I was like, wow. He had 124 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions.
Not bad. He's probably old and probably worth a lot of money.
Yeah, and we'll pay him. If the Colts want him, we'll pay him a lot. The Saints released linebacker Jalen Smith.
Okay. That actually caught me off guard. He had a pretty good camp.
Saints also released cornerback Bradley Roby.
That one hurt to the soul, just because I've always been a massive Bradley Roby fan. And after he got traded to the Saints last year, I was so excited. It makes sense. They have two really young cornerbacks who both need to play, and they're not going to bench Marshawn either. So they're moving Alante to the slot, and I think that dude is going to be insane.
Next release was the Panthers releasing linebacker Deion Jones.
I honestly can't even remember who that is.
Pretty sure, if I remember correctly, is the linebacker that was for the Falcons.
Oh, number 45, yeah, from Florida. Wow, I forgot about him.
He was good.
He was good. He made an all or a Pro Bowl a couple times.
And Dolphins release wide receiver Chosen Anderson. I mean, that's gotta be one of the worst names ever.
To think you actually changed that.
One of the worst
name.
altered names. I mean, we've had some bad ones. Meta World
Hey,
Peace.
let's not hate all the way.
Enos Freedom. What was it? Chad Ochocinco. But Chosen Anderson.
I kind of fuck with Chad Ochocinco.
It was funny at the time.
Yeah, I kind of fuck with it.
Eagles release your guy running back Trey Sermon today.
Saw that. I guess I'm not too shocked. They had a lot of running backs on the roster.
A lot of people were speculating that it could have been Rashad Penny.
I saw that too, and I was caught off guard by it, but not gonna complain. I drafted him in a fantasy league, so we're gonna be rooting him on.
Ravens released running back Melvin Gordon. Can't be surprised by that. His time's over.
Yeah, his time's up.
The one that was really surprising, Patriots released quarterback Bailey Zappi and quarterback
really?
And quarterback Malik Cunningham.
What?
Really, Mac Jones is the only quarterback on the roster right now.
That's got to be fake news.
That's what came through.
Oh my god, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not see that. Wow. That's wild.
Yep. And the biggest news for Tuesday, what everyone was anticipating for the past week, was, of course, Jonathan Taylor. They didn't, as we know, they did not find a suitor for a trade. But he will be remaining on the PUP list for at least the first 4 weeks. He'll probably be back after the first 4 weeks, and then an eyelash will fall into his eye, and he'll be out the rest of the year.
I imagine if he gets a little bit of a tweak, he's not coming back.
Colts have came out since then and said that they will and are trying to repair the relationship with Taylor. I don't know if there can be repaired, but as a Colts fan, I want it to be repaired, but at the right cost.
I can't see it being repaired. He seems like the kind of guy who once you hurt him, he is he's done with you.
There was a report that says if Jonathan Taylor does not play enough games this year, that his contract does get extended the next year. I think he has to come back by week 6. He has to be activated. If he's activated by week 6, the contract does not roll into the next year. But so hypothetically, the Colts do have the rights for at least a total of 3 more years with 2 franchise tags and the last year of his rookie deal.
Yeah, he has no leverage. I'll never understand.
Yep. I mean, like
I'll
I
just
said,
never understand.
As a Colts fan, of course, I want to see him back and playing for the Colts, but I'm not going to break the bank on a running back when we're in a rebuilding situation. That's not a position that you need to spend a buttload of money on when you're rebuilding.
I would agree.
But it does have some speculation when the Colts supposedly came out and said that they want to pay Taylor the money. They budgeted for the money, but they want to wait to buy it.
And I can't blame them for not wanting to pay him right away. I mean, he's coming off a leg injury as a running back. Like that's not good. Like no. you don't want to pay somebody like that.
That's what I'm saying. Taylor advocating and pushing for all this money, or to be the trading kind of alleviates the speculation, but him pushing when he can't wait makes you kind of wonder, is his injury a little more serious than that it's being reported?
Yeah, I would agree.
But like I said, when I heard that he has to be back by week 6, someone on TV was even saying he's going to come back and he's going to quote unquote fake an injury, get his money, and then But you know what? Colts can franchise tag him, so
I wouldn't be too worried about it if I was the Colts.
He has no leverage.
None.
You didn't have a you're going into a contract extension period, and you don't have a Josh Jacobs year where you have almost 1,700 yards rushing. You get hurt for, I think you only played 6 games last year, something around there.
I thought it was like yeah, you might be right. God, I was thinking for some reason it was more, but I think you're right.
And he didn't put up that good of stats when he was active, but you how do you go into a meeting with your owner and general manager and ask for all this money when you have a year like that?
I don't understand. I never will.
People were saying, well, he's all these stats about him being like the Colts behind Edgerrin James is the fastest to 3,000 yards. He's had 3 good years. First year, yes, he have 1,000 yards, but you just saw what the Falcons did with Tyler I don't even know how to say his last name. Algier. He had 1,000 yards. They went drafted Bijan Robinson.
Exactly.
So I mean, I guess it depends, but my question now is, if you're the Colts, what are your next moves in dealing with the situation? Wait till week 4 and address it then? Keep trying to fix the relationships and hope to reaching like a Josh Jacobs kind of deal?
I say just wait until week 4. Don't make any rash moves. I think trading him is still your best option. I don't think paying a running back is worth it, especially with where the Colts are at. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, they'd be different if they had a really elite quarterback at this stage who was pushing for a Super Bowl, and then you could pay him, but just don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Super Bowl contender, and notice how all the teams looking for Taylor were Super Bowl contenders. I mean, if you're a Super Bowl contender, why not give him a 1-year, $15 million deal? Why not?
I agree.
But when you're at least 2 years away from even probably making the playoffs, probably shouldn't pay a running back $15+ million a year.
I also agree.
But with that being said, I told you it was going to be a pretty short one, okay? That's going to do it.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. Good
week. That was a great time. It was good.
A lot of good headlines this week.
I'm excited to see what happens. Nothing's going to happen this week, but college football, I can't wait. Then after that, NFL starts up on Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for that.
I can't wait.
I mean, if you're good to do it next Tuesday, we'll have a pretty good one. Do all the predictions for all the coming games and all that good stuff. Even try to do some betting and stuff and talk about it, talk it through.
I'm down.
But that was a good one. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks, Foot Fanatics.
Fanatics, we're still on that. All right, brother.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.